The blizzard had come early to Epsilon 7, turning the mining colony's perimeter into a wall of white fury. Galen Trask stood in the doorway of the main facility, checking the external temperature readout with a grimace. -73 degrees Celsius and dropping. Even the automated haulers had been recalled to their charging bays. That's when he saw them. 3 figures stumbled through the snowdrifts, their silhouettes barely visible against the storm. Galen's first instinct was to reach for the alarm. Raiders sometimes tested colony defenses during weather events. But as they drew closer to the facility's floodlights, he froze. They weren't human. The lead figure collapsed 10 meters from the entrance. Galen could see her clearly now. Bipedal, covered in silver-gray fur that was matted with ice, with a distinctly lupin face and crystalline blue eyes that caught the light. Behind her, 2 smaller forms, cubs he realized, huddled together, shaking violently. The alien female raised her head, and when she spoke, the translator implant in Galen's ear rendered her desperate words into perfect English. "Please," she gasped, her voice barely audible over the howling wind. "My children, they won't survive the night. Please, human, shelter." Galen's mind raced. First contact protocols were clear. Report immediately. Maintain distance, wait for diplomatic corps. But those protocols were written in climate-controlled offices on Earth, not on a frozen mining world where 3 living beings were dying in front of him. "Foreman Trask," his assistant's voice crackled through his comm. "Sensors are picking up unidentified life forms at the main entrance. Should I activate defenses?" The alien mother, Silar, he would learn her name was later, looked up at him with eyes that transcended species. They held the same desperate hope he'd seen in the eyes of every parent who'd ever begged for their children's lives. "Stand down," Galen said into his comm. "Open the secondary airlock, and get Dr. Chen to medical bay immediately." He stepped into the storm without his coat. The cubs whimpered as Galen approached, their mother positioning herself weakly between them and the human. She was trying to protect them even now, even though she could barely stand. Galen knelt in the snow, moving slowly, keeping his hands visible. "It's okay," he said softly, knowing the translator would work both ways. "I'm going to help you." Silar's legs gave out entirely. Galen caught her before she hit the ground, surprised by how light she was. Her species had evolved on a low-gravity world, he would later learn. The cubs pressed against their mother, and Galen scooped all 3 of them into his arms. The colony staff stood in shocked silence as their foreman carried 3 alien beings through the airlock. Dr. Chen, a xenobiologist who'd been studying local microorganisms, looked like all her birthdays had come at once. "Medical bay now," Galen barked. "They're hypothermic." The next hours were chaos. Dr. Chen worked frantically to determine the alien family's basic biology, while Galen ordered heating blankets, warm liquids, and privacy screens set up. The cubs, a male and female, perhaps equivalent to human 8-year-olds, refused to leave their mother's side. Slowly, color returned to Silar's face. Her fur began to dry and fluff, revealing intricate patterns of silver and white. When she could finally speak without shaking, she told them her story. She was a refugee. Her world had been caught in a territorial dispute between 2 massive galactic empires. Her pack, her family, had fled, but only she and her 2 cubs had made it to the escape pod. They'd crashed on Epsilon 7 3 days ago. She'd been searching for any sign of civilization when the storm hit. "I knew humans were here," Silar said, her clawed hand gripping the edge of the medical bed. "We were warned about your species. They said humans were territorial, violent, that they shoot first and ask questions never." She looked at Galen, her eyes shimmering, "But I had no choice. I knew that if I didn't find shelter, my children would die, so I came to you anyway." Galen felt something twist in his chest. "Who told you that about us?" "The Therian Collective. They control 70 systems near your space. They said humans were too dangerous to approach, too unpredictable." The foreman exchanged glances with Dr. Chen. The Therian Collective had been trying to isolate humanity diplomatically for years, spreading fear to prevent other species from allying with Earth. "I'm glad you didn't listen to them," Galen said quietly. Over the next 3 days, while the storm raged outside, something remarkable happened in the mining colony. The staff, initially fearful, began bringing small gifts to the medical bay. Extra blankets, food synthesized to match the aliens' biology, toys for the cubs fashioned from scrap metal and spare parts. The cubs, Rin and Kessa, learned to laugh with the human children via video calls from Earth. Silar taught the staff about her people's culture, their music, their stories. On the fourth day, the storm finally broke. Standing at the observation window, Silar and Galen watched the sunrise paint the ice fields in shades of amber and rose. "My people have a saying," Silar said. "The measure of a civilization is not in its weapons or its wealth, but in how it treats strangers who have nothing to offer but need." Galen smiled. "We have something similar. The true test of civilization is not the census, nor the size of cities, nor the crops, but the kind of man the country turns out." Silar's tail swished thoughtfully. "The collective was wrong about humans. I will make sure others know." Within weeks, Silar's testimony had spread across dozens of worlds. The image of a human Foreman carrying 3 dying aliens out of a blizzard became a symbol. Other species, emboldened, began reaching out to human colonies. The Therian Collective's isolation campaign crumbled. Years later, when Earth joined the Galactic Council, Silar stood beside Galen at the ceremony. Her cubs, now adolescents, served as junior ambassadors. The wolf people of Lacanus Prime had become humanity's staunchest allies, and it all started because one Foreman, faced with a choice between protocol and compassion, decided that some rules were meant to be broken. In the cold mathematics of galactic politics, Galen Trask's decision to open that airlock changed everything. But he never saw it that way. When reporters asked him why he'd risked his career and potentially his colony to save 3 aliens, his answer was always the same. Because they were cold, and we had warmth to share. What else was I supposed to do? Humanity, it turned out, had always been ready for the stars. The galaxy just needed to see it.